So, hello, some of you. Hello, hello, hello. Maxi Taxi is one of the first people here. Hello, Maxi. Right, analytics. Make sure that you like the video, please. Let me get this one up for us all now. Just make sure. I know some of you will be leaving. It's not a problem. It's more this trial is secondary. This trial is now a verdict. So I want to get this done. So tomorrow I'll play the rest of the day. So I'll put this on now, present, share screen, and I might play a little bit of today's day as well. I'm not sure. If I can find it. What's it called? Marisela. Please make sure you like the video, guys, please. I would really, really appreciate it. As Sarah P always says, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. Please hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell, please. I'm 15 subscribers away from 3,000. That'd be amazing if I can reach 3,000 by the weekend. Join the community. You can do so through becoming a Blue Wench or a Taco. Check out the merch store. Also, you can support by. I might get rid of Wise, Sarah P. I might get rid of Wise. No one uses Wise. I might just use PayPal and buy me a coffee. Thanks to the generosity of Wendy H, I figured out now I've changed it back to PayPal instead of Stream, whatever it was called, Stream Elements. Stream Elements I used to have to pay on average about 11%. But Wendy H sent me money yesterday, very kindly of her, and I got to keep all 100% of it. All 100%, which is amazing. I know by making coffee, thanks to Hens and Monica, I found out that I have to pay the transaction fees, and it works out I get to keep about 94 to 95% of the buy me a coffee, I believe it is. So that's why I'll probably keep to those two, and maybe I'll get rid of Wise. But thank you, everybody. Welcome, CJ. Yeah, CJ came through earlier on. Same with Justina, both members of Taco Club. I've missed so much Alter Corners. See, we have some new amazing mods. Open load new members. Yeah, loads of new members because of they want to watch the other trial. And yeah, it's a funny story. Mexi was chatted away in chat, and no one could see it except for Jonathan. And I was like, what? I was like, where's Mexi? She's not speaking, but she screenshotted all of her chat. The only way she can be seen in chat is if she's a mod. So I was like, well, you know what? So I love Mexi anyway. Mexi's she's brilliant. So that's why she is a mod, and you feel she's great anyway. So she's a deserving mod anyway. But it's pure coincidence. But she's amazing anyway. I would have had her as a mod anyway any day because she's amazing. No really spoiled poopers. I'm here. Hiya, Wendy H. As always, the best. Oh, you got me jumping all over the show. Sorry, Tiddly Pip. I'm trying. I've got you jumping back over a bit as well. I'm glad you made it out. Yeah, it's lovely to see you, Get butter to the stream. By the way, please try and watch commercials if possible. It does. I mean, it's not much, right? But if everyone does it, even if I make $1 per stream, it's still a lot for me, guys. You know. So yeah. Thank you, guys. Right, I'm going to play this for you. And I've got to make a quick phone call. So let me play this. Let me get this up for you.
You get the leg mark?
Yes.
While you're on bond and you have the leg monitors, are you and Nina still living together?
Yes.
Got an apartment?
We got a house.
Got a house. All right. Once you're in this house, does any suspicious activities start taking place?
Yes. Actually, it was the entire time that we were out on house arrest. People were posting things about us that they saw us in the actual location. Like people were following us. People were paying attention to where we're going. So we were constantly underneath some kind of scrutiny by social media, by people who were following the case. Like we never had any rest from them. They were always.
In fact, it got so bad. Did y'all actually try to do a cease and desist?
We did. We absolutely did.
Tell Drew what that means.
A cease and desist is whenever you send a notification that they must cease and desist from publishing or doing anything against you or in your name because it was absolutely not correct or true. It was just made up things that were so derogatory it was affecting everything. So we did do a cease and desist on it.
And did you feel as though it was putting you in danger?
Absolutely,
Were
no
you
question. Yes,
And then as far as the, what I'm getting at is, at some point y'all got those monitors.
we did.
Tell me about the jury why.
We cut the monitors off because we both felt very much persecuted in this case. I do, as I'm sitting here in front of you today. I feel very much like Nina and I have been completely singled out in this case in a way that should not have been. Like you consider, I was 57 years old when this incident happened. I did nothing but work and raise children all my life. Why would I even be suspicious in this? I've never been arrested. I had no criminal record. Nina's an attorney. She had never had any kind of criminal record. Like we lived a life that was pretty much upstanding. We hadn't ever done anything like this.
But let me ask you, okay, you say you felt persecuted.
Yeah.
So why Cambodia?
Cambodia was a good place for asylum. Cambodia was a good place for us to find a new life, for us to live, for us not to have these situations. We looked at it. We looked at citizenship. We entered Cambodia legally. We didn't do anything illegal. We did everything you were supposed to do to come into a new country and try to nationalize or to get asylum there.
Okay. You were trying to get asylum because you felt persecuted.
Absolutely.
And were you afraid
Yes, absolutely, both.
for your safety?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, at the time, right before we left and flew out, there was a black pickup truck that had started to park right outside of our house. And it would move on the street, but it was always there. One day, I went to the window, me and Nina were cooking in the kitchen, and this black truck is parked right outside our kitchen window. Whenever he saw us, he left. But it was definitely a man, and it was nobody we knew personally, and somebody that should have been there.
And did that give you concern?
Absolutely.
So when you went to Cambodia, did you just go out of necessity?
Yes. In our feelings, absolutely.
Oh, and while you were on the leg monitor, you were trying to work, weren't you?
Absolutely. Like I've always worked.
Okay. In fact, did you get a job offer
I did.
while you were on the leg monitor?
I did.
It was going to help pay for your legal expenses.
I did, yes.
What happened with the job?
I got the job fairly quickly whenever we got out. My resume is really clean. So I got this position with a law firm. He tendered an offer to me, which I accepted. With this leg monitor program, you have to get approval for everything you do. And you heard
When you say approval, you got to get approval from the judge, right?
I do, yes. Anything you do. So I let my attorneys know that I had a job offer. They had to file a motion with a hearing before this judge to get this approved. There's a limited period of time, of course, because I had to start within a certain time range. I had given enough time for me, my start date, to give me like a week or about that, for the judge to give approval for me to do this the right way. The minute the motion was filed and it was, known by the prosecution, by the court system, that I had a job and that it was with this firm, the offer was rescinded before the hearing could even take place.
Okay. So it was affecting your ability to work.
It would have been, it was an impossibility. Every time I would get an interview or try to get an interview, the time frame or me being able to get to that interview was impossible.
And you didn't think that was a coincidence, did you?
No, I definitely did not.
Is that why you kind of felt like y'all were being persecuted?
Yes, one of the reasons.
As far as I think one. Let me see what's marked as medical judge.
Okay.
Thank you. What's marked as defense exhibit number 13. Is that Charles Beltran?
It is.
And is that the Santa Marta case that he had?
Yes.
And does this photo have significance to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much an indicator that he and his people are watching.
Judge Alford was marked as defense 13.
No objection, Your Honor.
Probation publisher.
Defendant's exhibit 13 is admitted for all purposes and
this is the little Santa Marta emblem, correct?
Yes,
And this is Charles Beltran, right?
yes,
And he's telling you that we're always watching.
yes.
Was that threatening to you?
Very.
Did you believe that he and his people were always watching?
Yes,
Is that why you went to Cambodia?
yes,
Is that why you continue to send him money?
yes,
To stay in contact with him?
yes.
I'll pass the witness, sir.
Cross-examination. Thank you, Your Honor. So Ms. Dykes, you said you've been a paralegal for how long?
33 years.
33 years, and all in negotiations, right?
No, not all in negotiation. I've done personal injury. I'm primarily a litigation paralegal, so negotiation is not something I've always done.
Well, you did negotiations here in Dallas, didn't you?
I did for part of the time that I was with that firm.
And you're no stranger to the courtroom. I mean, you know how things work. You've been in a courtroom in your job for a long time. Is that right?
Yes,
And the soft-spoken Ms. Dykes that you are today, I mean, as far as negotiation, you're negotiating big cases. These aren't like little baby cases. I mean, these are important things, right?
technically, I didn't negotiate the big cases. I worked the big cases as far as litigation aspects go.
Okay, but you're talking to attorneys, you're talking to other negotiators, you're talking to companies about, their money and things like that. Is that right?
Yes,
And you have to be fairly strong in your negotiations to get the job done. And you did get the job done, didn't you?
you have to know the files.
I mean, you have to be strong in your negotiations to get the job done, right? You can't just fall over at the first offer and say, okay, I give up, right?
I
You
think-
have to know what you're doing and you have to be strong.
I think you have to be clear and concise.
Okay. And as far as, again, you know enough about the legal field, you know enough about, what goes on in a courtroom to kind of understand some of the procedures, right?
I do.
Okay. So just a minute. I mean, you mentioned all these threatening things, and you were advised if there was anything that went wrong or anything else like that, you could either talk to Julian LaPierre, your ELM person, and you could talk to the judge about what was going on. And you never did that, did you?
No.
Okay, so you never told him about any of these issues that you had going on supposedly during your time on ELM, right? You're a smart enough woman to know you could have told them any of that, and they would have done whatever they could to make you feel better, right?
Which issues are you speaking of?
I'm talking about this truck that's outside. I'm talking about the people supposedly harassing you. You could have talked to the judge about that, right?
I feel that would have probably been ineffective.
But you didn't try, did you?
No.
And you didn't tell Miss LaPierre about any of that, did you?
No, she knew about the work problems.
Okay. And that was it, right? That was the only problem that you really talked to her about, right?
Yes,
And you're making this jury believe, I think, that you think the prosecution has something to do with you not getting the job, right?
I do believe that.
Okay, and you understand, Ms. Dykes, we don't have that kind of time. I mean, if you don't know that, we don't have that kind of time.
I don't know what kind of time you have and you don't, ma'am, honestly.
Now, as far as Ms. LaPierre is concerned, she was here earlier. Your counsel had an opportunity to ask her questions about that situation, didn't he?
He did.
Okay, and Ms. LaPierre, she didn't say anything about notifying or having to notify the prosecution or the court at every request that you make, right?
She did go over what you can and can't do while you're on ELN. She also did, I believe, testify to the fact that you had to have approval to work.
Now, I'm looking through all this stuff here, and you were talking about all these people that are harassing you and causing problems, and even before, back in 2020, before this incident happened, all these terrible things that happened to you, and I can't seem to find a police report where you reported this stuff. You didn't do that, did you?
Where I reported what?
These problems that you were having, these people that are harassing you, these calls that you're getting. You didn't report any of that to the police, did you?
To be frank, ma'am, I don't trust police at this point in my life.
Well, at that time, you had no reason to, did you?
In 20?
Before you even knew that there was that the police were looking for you and trying to contact you, you had no reason to distrust police at that time.
The incidents that we're speaking of started to happen when the FBI agent showed up at the door on 10/13.
And there was nothing about that contact that would make you distrust police at that time, was it?
At the time that they were there,
At the time that the FBI contacted you on October 15th, you had no reason to distrust police,
the
did you?
text that night that I got from a gentleman claiming to be an FBI officer is pretty alarming. If he was an FBI officer, which I have no idea of knowing whether he was or not, that makes you start to distrust.
Well, you just stated on direct that you asked for a picture of his badge and he didn't send you one.
He
And
didn't.
so at that point, I mean, you knew he wasn't legit, right?
Not really. Like the
Okay,
fact
I
that
mean, Taylor Page rang your doorbell, stood in front of the Ring camera. You've seen that. That's how Ring cameras work. When the doorbell rings, you have an app on your phone and you can see that video, right?
no, I never saw that. I never
Now I'm
saw.
asking you, is that how
anything.
the Ring camera works?
I didn't have the app, and it was Chuck's Ring camera, so I didn't have any of that.
So speaking of Chuck, you mentioned, I mean, you made it a point right off the bat to talk about how violent he was. Again, I'm looking through all of this stuff, and I don't see one police report that you called in on Chuck the entire time that you all lived together. You didn't do that, did you?
I would not have. I would not dare to have done that. He is not the kind of man you make a police report on and have anything come of that that's good.
Okay, so he's not the kind of man, I mean, if he does something in your home that you invited him into, that you put him up in, that you bought him all that equipment, that you bought him that car, that you paid for all his shoes and his clothing and things like that, he's not the kind of man that you could call and report him to the police and he get arrested and be out of your life. That's how simple it was, right?
It was not that simple. Chuck was not
Now,
the kind of guy
you talk about Chuck's friends. Dax, Freddie, you know them, right?
I do know them through the
They've
club.
been to your house plenty of times, right?
They have.
Okay, and I mean, they talked about how everybody knew that you were in a relationship with Chuck, right? They talked about that.
They said that, yes.
Okay, and so it was common knowledge that this arrangement between you and Chuck really didn't have much at all to do with his rap career, if anything, because we saw Defense Exhibit 7. And any woman that is trying to save her retirement, save up, and make smart financial decisions is not going to feed money into that man and that kind of rap and that kind of video after she saw what was produced. That doesn't make any sense, does it?
His first productions out of Austin, as I had said, were
Ma'am,
much.
I'm asking about this
Judge,
production.
Nancy, she'd be allowed to answer the question. I mean, I understand it on cross, but
Sustain, please allow him to answer the question. And my question to you is, after seeing what he produced on Defendant's Exhibit 7, Picture Me This, where the lyrics are diggity dick and lickety lick, no woman trying to save her retirement is going to continue to invest in that, correct? That's my question to you.
They may, if there's a potential for improvement, if there's a potential for it to change to reflect what the actual work that was done before is produced, then yes, they might.
But you're trying to save for retirement, aren't you?
I'm trying to build an income stream that would sustain me through later years.
Now, as far as the court proceedings go, I mean, you bonded out in, I believe, May of 2021. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and Nita got out first, and you got out, and you all were able to get a nice little house together and live together on ELM. And it wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad, was it?
No, it's pretty bad.
Okay, and looking at the past slips, just a minute, Your Honor, I apologize. I'll put these in order, Ms. Dykes, but looking at the past slips, the very first time Your Honor, may I approach? You may. Just to refresh your recollection of that, I'm showing was when Mark states 398 through 402, and it starts with 402. That's your signature right there, is that correct?
Yes.
If you'll just look through each of those, and do those look like the past slips in your case from the time you bought it out to the time you became voting?
Yes.
Now, Your Honor, state offer states 398 through 402 for all purposes.
no objection, Judge.
Starting in September.
Hold on, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
398 through 402
Yes, Your Honor.
are admitted for all purposes.
Okay, permission to publish. Looking at states 402, this is September 21st. You signed that pass slip, and it just says discovery needed, right?
Mhm.
You were here for.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yes.
You didn't talk to anybody, any prosecutors, you didn't have to go to the courtroom, you just talked to your attorney and you left, is that right?
Yes,
States 398, October 1st, 2021, your signature's not even there, is it?
no,
You didn't have to even show up in court, right?
I don't think so. I don't recall exactly, but I don't think so.
Okay, but you would have signed it if you had to show up, right?
Possibly.
Okay, October 29th, 2021, again, your signature's not there, right?
Right. Yes.
So you didn't sign that pass slip either. November 29th, 2021, you didn't sign that pass slip, and that's in States 400.
Yes.
And then on December 29th, 2021, you're actually in Cambodia at this time, right?
No, that's November 29th, 2021.
Okay, but it's reset to December 29th, 2021. Is that correct?
It was reset to that day. The day of that signature was November 29th, 2021.
Okay, you didn't have to sign that day either, right?
No.
So you're not having to spend any time up here.
No.
Okay. Chuck has a lot of tattoos, doesn't he?
Yes.
In fact, the one that's right there on your wrist, if you'll show that to the jury, please. Your Honor, may Ms. Dykes stand up and present her tattoo to the jury.
Well, she may stand up where she is.
Okay, show her tattoo. And we're talking about the one right there on your wrist, right?
Mhm.
This one right there.
Right.
You're aware that Chuck has that same tattoo, doesn't he?
He does. Yes, he does.
Okay. So you are a 57-year-old woman investing in a rapper's career. You don't have any personal relationship at all, but you get a matching tattoo.
The tattoo is actually the logo for the business that I started for him that I'm invested in, Math Class. That's what the tattoo is. And it's the logo for that.
Now, you and Nina are really close, aren't you?
Yes.
You know pretty much everything about each other, right?
Yes, I would think.
She talked to you while she was in Pennsylvania.
We have consistently kept a relationship for 16 years.
Okay, so she talks. You guys talk all the time.
We do.
Now, you mentioned that Bill didn't live there, but if Bill didn't live in Pennsylvania, why is he keeping Halloween decorations there? That doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, that's not.
Hiya, Carrie. Thank you, Carrie, right, for becoming a member. Happy days. Welcome to you. Sorry, I just been on the phone chatting. So, hi, Carrie. Welcome. Carrie Wright just became a member. Let's go, Carrie. Thank you. Right, here we go.
Exactly what I said. They had a house together in Staten Island where they actually resided. This house is a house where they were repairing the house to sell it as a couple or to live in it as they chose to do. They did have personal property there from both of them.
This Miss Scarpa just made up this fact that you guys knelt there, right?
Miss Scarpa had said what she said for whatever reason she did, but it was not true.
And Olivia Martinez, I almost said Rodriguez again. Olivia Martinez, she was somebody who you were training, right?
She was someone I trained, yes.
And you guys kept the same office, didn't you?
She was put into my office so that I could train her.
Okay, so you guys shared an office, didn't you?
Yes.
And as anybody that shares an office, you guys get in personal conversations, right?
Olivia liked to listen to my phone calls. As far as personal conversations go,
Objection,
no.
non-responsive, Your Honor.
If you could sustain, you need to listen to the specific question and answer that specific question if you can. If you don't know, then you don't know. You may proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Dykes, being in the same office with someone, you get in some personal conversations, don't you?
Not always, no.
Okay, but you did have some personal conversations with Olivia, didn't you?
About certain things.
And you talked to her about Chuck sometimes, right?
Honestly, no. I didn't talk to Olivia about Chuck.
You never talked to her about Chuck.
No.
Okay, you never talked to her about Nina either, did you?
No, actually, Nina, she met coming into the office. Nina used to come and sit with me in the office.
Okay, and you know that she testified that you all had several personal conversations at work. You recall that conversation,
I
right?
remember her testimony.
Okay, so there's a person number 2 that's lying, right?
Seems to be Olivia had some thoughts that weren't exactly correct.
Okay, and Kat De Leon, she's a hairdresser. You went to her for years, didn't you?
I did.
And you guys were close, weren't you?
No, she was my hairdresser.
Okay, and as a hairdresser, you know the gig. I mean, you stick with the same hairdresser for a while. They know your styles, they know your fashions, they know the things you like, right?
Should, yes.
Okay, and she was a good hairdresser, wasn't she?
She was good with color. Yes.
Okay. And she was good with cuts too, wasn't she?
Not so much
Then why'd you keep going?
because she was good with color.
Okay, but she still cut your hair too, didn't she?
She did, yes,
Okay, and she was so good that you took Chelsea there too, didn't you?
yes.
You didn't have any personal conversations with Kat either, did you?
We did have personal conversations.
So
She
you
did.
told her about Chuck,
I did tell her that Chuck was there in the house, yes.
okay, and you told her about you talked about him all the time, didn't you?
No, not all the time.
You talked about him frequently to her, didn't you?
When she asked, I answered her.
And of course, if he was this mean, awful, violent person, you could have told her. You would have told her that.
Not necessarily.
But you told her about the sex, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
You didn't tell her anything about you guys having any kind of sexual relationship.
No, I didn't, because that wouldn't be true.
Nina spent quite a bit of time after Bill died in Pennsylvania by herself, right?
I don't remember exactly how long she was there. She first, when Bill died, she was in Pennsylvania. Yes.
Okay, so that was November. You guys actually started taking trips and things together on a fairly regular basis in maybe the summer of 2019. Does that sound about right?
No, I think that's too soon.
October 2019?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, and then he passes in, and that's when you guys really kind of started going from being best friends to taking this to a different level, right?
Nina and I still to this day are best friends. So the commitment to actually marry didn't come until April or May.
I'm not talking about marriage, Ms. Dykes. I'm talking about where you all start discussing and making a decision that this isn't just a best friend buddy situation, that we're going to be in a different type of relationship. That happened around October 2019. Is that right?
I think that's way too soon.
Okay.
It
But
wasn't
if you
better.
told Kat De Leon that it was October 2019, that's mistaken?
I think Kat's probably off on that, because we really didn't start even remotely thinking about anything like that until 20.
Bill passes in 2019. Is that correct?
I really don't remember. I think so.
November 2019, right?
I believe so.
And you and you and Nina, y'all start getting closer and closer. Is that fair to say?
Yes, she was going through a lot of things. I mean, we were already extremely, extremely close, but her suffering from Bill dying was pretty extraordinary. So yes,
Okay, and you knew about some of her relationships too. Is that right?
I did.
You knew that she was having a relationship with a guy in Pennsylvania. I can't recall his name, but you remember that she was having a relationship with a guy in Pennsylvania.
No, she didn't really have a relationship with anybody in Pennsylvania. She
Yeah.
saw somebody maybe in Pennsylvania, but not a relationship.
Okay, relationship might be a little more than what it was, but she was texting a guy and she saw a guy and they had sex while she was in Pennsylvania. Is that?
I think so. Yes.
And you know that, I mean, she texted this guy and she told that guy all about you, her fiance, and all about Chuck the third.
I don't know. I never saw anything like that.
It was clear that you guys were open about what the deal was. You and Nina were married and Chuck was your guy.
No, he wasn't.
Now, as far as Kyle's concerned, Kyle lives here in Dallas, doesn't he?
Yes,
And he was I guess, manager of the bar.
he
Is that
was.
right?
Yes.
On premise.
Yes.
And he actually hired Chuck. Is that right?
Yes.
And Dax also worked there. Is that correct?
Dax was working as a bouncer at that time.
And Chuck was a doorman.
Yeah, well, he was a bouncer too. They were both working the same position.
That's how you met Chuck, through your son Kyle. Is that correct?
Yes.
You mentioned to the jury that Chuck got done it. Kyle cares a whole lot about you, doesn't he?
I believe so. Yes.
I
He's
mean,
my
you
son.
guys still to this day, you all talk all the time, right?
We do.
And he'll pretty much do anything for you. Is that correct?
I don't know. I haven't got any new clothes for court yet, so I can't really say that. No,
Well, that's because he had to appear here in the court building to get you those clothes, right?
that's not true.
I mean, you told him to stay away, didn't you?
No.
You didn't tell him to stay away?
Well, I have not wanted him to be up here because of the risk for him and the danger of being around all these people.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Right, let's stop that. Let's go into the next day. This is today. We're not going to be able to watch it all, but they stopped there yesterday. This is from today. They are in. Oh, here we go. Is this one? No, this one. So bit of a cleavage shot for you. This year's boobies. Here we go. We won't be able to watch it all, I don't think.
All right, then we're ready for the jury.
Is that right?
Yes.
I was ready to hire Chuck, you and Chuck, is that correct?
Yes.
He
Smash.
was the manager of the bar and on premise, and he actually initially hired Chuck as a doorman and a bouncer, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, Jonathan, just for you. Hang on, Jonathan wants. Oh, damn it. Jonathan wants the shot. He wants the water bottle. There you go, Jonathan. Jonathan's drooling.
Kyle knows Dax, Kyle knows Freddie, Kyle knows all those guys down there that hang out at the on premise on a regular basis, is that right?
He knows the ones at on premise. Yes.
And Kyle is still here locally in Dallas, is that right?
Yes.
Now, all the rest of your children, Aaron and Chelsea, were living with you in Mesquite, the 3113 Kensington house, and they all moved back to Florida, but Kyle's staying here in Dallas, is that right?
Yes.
And you and Kyle are really close, is that right?
Yes.
You guys talk frequently, throughout the course of when you left Dallas, you continue to stay in communication with him, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, we were talking yesterday about Kyle, and as I said, you have continued to talk to him up until today, is that right?
Yes.
I mean, as often as you can.
Yes.
Now, you told Kyle, or you became aware through Kyle in a phone conversation that the DA's office was trying to contact him, did you? Did you?
I'm not aware of that for sure. I don't remember that he mentioned anything like that.
You know that he called you, or you called him. You called him, and he told you that we had gone out to his apartment and left the business card out there, right?
I don't remember him saying that specifically.
And he told you that he thought it was a neighbor that kind of ratted him out as to where he lived, right?
I really don't remember him saying anything like that.
And he later told you that he had gotten a subpoena via text message from us, right?
He mentioned he had gotten a subpoena via a text message, and I told him I wasn't sure if that was correct service of a subpoena.
Because you know the law and you know your way around the courtroom, right?
I do know about subpoena service. Yes.
And you couldn't get a hold of, you're talking to Aaron, again, you talk to him frequently as well, right?
I do.
And you were talking to him last week, just last week on October 8th, I'm sorry, not October 8th, December 8th, weren't you?
I don't really know the date. I talk to Aaron when he's off and I can catch him. So
Okay, he's off around 7:33 or 6:33 at night, isn't he?
it depends on the route he runs. He's an armed guard.
Okay, and that's what he was doing when he was here. He was working when he was in Dallas, wasn't he?
Yes.
Okay, was Chelsea working when she was in Dallas?
No.
But Jimmy was working at the Amazon.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
The phone number you use for Aaron is 407-412-1331, is that right?
Yes.
And when you call, you talk for several minutes, 10, 15 minutes, somewhere around there sometimes.
Yes.
And you recall, I mean, you know that Aaron was talking to you about the trial, was talking to you about Kyle, and telling him that Kyle needs to communicate with you, right?
I don't remember specifically the
Okay, but that sounds
conversation.
about right, doesn't it?
Can you repeat it?
That you were talking to Aaron and telling him that Kyle needs to communicate. You need Kyle to communicate more.
With whom? Like,
With
I,
you.
I don't know. Like, well, I talk to him every day, so that doesn't necessarily make sense.
Okay. And Aaron told you that, or you told Aaron that Kyle doesn't need to show up. Is that right?
I don't even know what that context would be.
Okay. Well, Aaron told you that Kyle was going to come to trial on Monday, and you said he does not need to come to court on Monday, and I told him that. Do you recall that?
I don't specifically recall these conversations because, again, I talk to the kids like all the time. So
And you asked Aaron to make sure that Kyle knows, no, do not come to the courtroom. Aaron asked you, is this because of the subpoena? And you replied, yeah, like I'm not going to say anything more than that. Do you remember that?
No.
Okay.
I
Do you need to hear that phone call to refresh your recollection of it?
I wouldn't. It wouldn't make a difference if I heard it. Like I don't really recall having said that, but
So if you heard your voice and you heard Aaron's voice and you heard that conversation, you're telling the jury that just wouldn't refresh your recollection at all about the conversation.
I don't remember having said it. Like I talk to my kids every day. So
Your Honor, may I have the witness and defendant listen to her jail call from that particular day to refresh your recollection?
You can, are there any earphones, and can you take the laptop up there for the proper?
May I have to address something?
It'll go
No,
on.
we're not looking to fall.
Ms. Dykes, does that refresh your recollection of that call?
It did, thank you.
Okay, and, I mean, what I was asking you about, the fact that you're talking to Aaron and you're discussing Kyle's appearance here in court, you told Aaron, he does not need to come to court Monday. I told him that, is that right?
I did.
And, she asked Aaron to make sure that Kyle knows, no, do not come to the courtroom, right?
Yes,
And Aaron asked, is this because of the subpoena, is that right?
yes, he did.
And you said, yeah, like, I'm not going to say anything more than that, right?
Yes,
Now, Nina actually met Bill when she was like 16, is that right?
I'm not sure exactly the age that Nina met Bill, but she was young.
Very young, right?
I think it was after she graduated high school, so I'm gonna say she was probably 18 or so.
And they got married shortly after, right?
I believe so.
She never had kids of her own?
No.
Now, you made it a point on the rec yesterday to tell the jury, Chuck's a violent man, didn't you?
I did.
And you were so scared of Chuck that after you met him, you bought him a car, right?
I did buy a car, yes.
And you had to move into your house after your daughter and son and brother moved out just within weeks, right?
Yes,
You invested in his rap career,
I did.
right? And even after he produced something like Defense Exhibit 7, that rap video, you continued to invest in his rap career, right?
I did.
You were so scared of him that you got matching tattoos with him, didn't you?
I did.
You were so scared of him that you brought Nina, your best friend of 14 years and now wife, around this man, didn't you?
I did.
You were so scared of him that you chose his last name after getting married to Nina, right?
I chose Beltran.
And you were so scared of him that when he had a rap show in Arkansas, you paid for the rooms, you paid for the van, you paid for the slot, and you and Nina went up there to the rap show, right?
I did.
You were so scared of him that when this all happened and you learned that the FBI was looking for Chuck, you met him in Pennsylvania, 45 minutes away from where Nina's house was. Is that right?
I did.
In fact, now, first, the witness, Your Honor, you may. The state's 404, I mean, that's a map where East Stroudsburg is compared to the city Bethlehem that you said he just showed up at with no notice. Is that right?
Yes.
Your Honor, state moves to admit state's 404 for all purposes. Enter defense counsel.
State's Exhibit 404 is admitted for all purposes.
Commissioner Felch, Your Honor, you may. I mean, this is 37.1 miles away, right?
Yes.
He didn't know where to go. He went to Bethlehem and called you, and you met him there.
Actually, he did know the address of the house.
Now, you were so scared of him that you all got him a passport in Buffalo, New York, didn't you?
We did.
You were so scared of him, you actually paid off his child support so that he could go with you to Mexico.
We did.
You actually left him in Mexico, didn't you?
We did.
You bought him a Jeep, didn't you?
No, we bought the Jeep for me.
You let Chuck drive the Jeep, didn't you?
He did drive the Jeep, yes.
And when you all left him in Mexico, you left him there for a couple weeks, didn't you?
We did.
And yet you went back and drove from Pennsylvania all the way down to Mexico to pick him back up, didn't you?
We did.
And when you picked him back up, you guys went to Albuquerque and you drove in 2 separate cars with Chuck all the way to Miami and let him move to Miami into the Miami apartment with you.
We did.
And then when he left that Miami apartment is when Nina got arrested and then you got arrested and then he was away from you, right?
Yes.
You did a lot of things to make sure that you stayed in contact with Charles Beltran, even though you had the opportunity when he went to Mexico to leave him there, didn't you?
We didn't feel that we really had any kind of choice in this. Ever.
Your Honor, first witness.
You may.
Ms. Dykes, this is State's Exhibit 5, which has been admitted for record purposes. Is this just an identical copy of that, and this one's just typed? Is that correct?
It appears to be.
Your Honor, we would like to offer State's Exhibit 403 for all purposes. Defense counsel.
Oh, no, that's Judge Sanders.
Is that 2 pages?
It's just 403 that we're entering into admitting in evidence, just 1 page of the calendar.
Right. State's Exhibit 403 is admitted for all purposes.
Your Honor, pass witness.
Can you be read?
No, no.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I do need to send you out of the courtroom for just a few minutes, but we'll have you back in 5 minutes.
All right.
For the evidence in this case, you do not have to memorize this. These 2 charges will go back to the. If you do not so believe, or if you think with intent.
You all spoke quite a bit. Never mind, Marisela is killed in that bedroom that evening. And you said, "Eat. Let her die. Wraps her body in trash. Marisela deserved better than Raul on October 4th.
Welcome, Kate.
You want to go back how long? Marisela deserved better than Chuck. Marisela deserved better than any of these nonsense issues about Dallas Police Department and things that happened after the investigation. Marisela deserves better than to be talked about, look at what she's wearing in opening statements. Marisela deserved better than to be photographed in the Dallas County Courthouse in the state of Texas versus Lisa Dykes, because Lisa Dykes lost control in October of 2020 of a man she was obsessed with, Charles Beltran, Chuck. Because she lost control, couldn't get a hold of him. He brings home a woman after she's told him no. And she straddles Marisela in the middle of the night, in her sleep, in Dallas, Texas, here in Mesquite. Lets her die. Wraps her body in trash. And dumps her in Wilmer, Texas, right off the road, off Post Oak Road. But what Marisela does is her U12 and two alternates. We spent a lot of time last Monday sitting over here, and we talked about all these issues. We talked about the law. We talked about a lot of things. It was a very active session. You all spoke quite a bit. And you are here because you agreed and you said, I can do this job. You are here because you said, I can handle this job. There was nothing about this job that said, I can't do it. All 12 of you. Right? In jury selection, last Monday, we talked about what is beyond reasonable doubt. We talked about there's no legal definition, but obviously it cannot be 100%. 3 people in that room that night. It's not 100%. It's not beyond all doubt. It's not beyond all possible doubt. You all agree with that, right? It's all about being reasonable and using your common sense. Keep that with you throughout this, right? We talked, and just to put this out there, right? There should be no doubt in your mind Marisela is killed in that bedroom that evening, in the early hours of October 5th. Look at all the evidence you have. There is no doubt that. We talked about this. What is that picture of? Many of you knew right away. Some maybe needs more. Let's talk about that. How does that relate here? Maybe one of those plus pieces is judge testimony. Right? A pretty important piece. Something like this. Right? We've got those call detail records that show this defendant, Nina Morano, right where that body's at. Right? We've got Lisa Dykes calling you to work October 5th. We've got the DNA results that Marisela's blood is in a carpet pad of that Kensington address. We've got that Lisa Dykes quits her job on October 16th. The week news articles start to surface about Marisela missing. We've got that's the day after she gets a call from the FBI, and that she lied to the FBI. We've got the whole picture, right? Like we talked about. Are you willing to get back there with circumstantial evidence, lay it all on the table, and weigh it all with one another? See how those pieces fit together. How do they all come together? What checks back with what? Take away Chuck's testimony, right? Start with Chuck's testimony on that puzzle piece. That's all accomplice law tells you to do, is that does his testimony make sense? Is it corroborated by anything else? There's not any specific thing that has to be corroborated. Just is his testimony corroborated about the offense that took place and her involvement? And it is. The motive, all kinds of things are corroborated each step of the way by what Chuck says. Take his puzzle piece away, put everything else on the table first. Don't look at just the one piece, right? The defense has you heard Ms. Dykes, she's got an answer for every single puzzle piece. But they're all just unlucky coincidences. Don't do that. You said you wouldn't do it, don't do it. Lay them on the table, weigh them against each other, and weigh them individually once they're all in front of you. Then you can start to see what the actual picture is, right? We talk a lot about this, right? Is it reasonable to weigh an individual piece of evidence by itself in a vacuum? You all answer, no. Why not? That makes no sense. That's not how we're going to do our job. So don't do it that way, right? Weigh them all individually, right? We talk a lot about circumstantial evidence. So what you have here, you do have a lot of circumstantial evidence. You have quite a bit of circumstantial evidence. A lot of strong circumstantial evidence. So wait, right? You said, hey, I understand that there are a lot of criminal cases that may be just circumstantial evidence, and I can do that job. I can give a fair trial, and I can make sure that justice is done. Motive. We talked about each and every one of you. Why? Why is motive important? You answered about why motive is important. You heard people answer. Of course, that is an important thing for us to know. And you have plenty of evidence that you've heard of this trial as to her motive. The only person with motive and a reason to kill Marisela October 5th, 2020. We talked about this evidence, flight and evidence of guilt. Absolutely. You all said, wait, consider it with everything you have. Okay? We talked a little bit about the law of parties. This is your charge, right? Because obviously you have multiple people here, right? You're criminally responsible if you do something with someone, commit a criminal offense, right? You aid, you encourage, you solicit, right? You help in some kind of way. Everyone understood that. That's also why Charles Beltran is guilty of tampering with a human corpse, because whenever he sees this happen and he tells Lisa, instead of calling 911, fine, take care of it, and she says, grab Nina, and he does, he has now aided, assisted, and helped. And he took responsibility for that. And his punishment being assessed is 20 years in prison. He knows that. We talk a little bit here also about the witness testimony, right? And it's going to be your job to weigh all the evidence that comes from that stand from witnesses, right? People you've never met, you got to weigh. What are you going to believe about them? All, some, or none, right? We talk about ways that you have tools to weigh their credibility. Weigh it back to the physical evidence. Weigh it back to the documents you see. Tie it back to what you hear from other folks, right? How many witnesses did you hear from? And how many of those you get? And start to paint the exact same picture. You all said, yeah, I can do that. So I just want to leave you with this, right? Don't go back there. Defense counsel comes up, and there's excuse after excuse after excuse for each little thing, or to talk about Charles Beltran. They're all just one little puzzle piece. But focus on the one until you put them all on the table. When you put them all out on the table and back in that room and you're deliberating, that's when you start saying, hold on, this piece maybe doesn't fit, but maybe I still see the picture. And I'm confident that at the end of this, you will bring quick justice for Marisela, because it's the right thing to do, because the state has met our burden. And you will find Ms. Dykes guilty of murder and tampering with human corpse.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Jim. Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, again, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to serve as jurors. I know it's been a long trial. You made excuses you could have given us again. You didn't do that. You accept responsibility. And now it's time for the state to accept responsibility for these allegations that they brought against Mrs. Dykes. I told you in opening statement, I told you from the beginning, this is not about puzzle pieces. We're not talking about pieces of puzzle. We're talking about either you got the evidence or you don't. Because we're not talking about puzzle people. We're talking about Miss Dykes' life. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about her life. Whether she's going to be labeled a murderer, whether she's going to be labeled a felon. They have the obligation to bring evidence to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. They haven't done that because she's not guilty. She did not commit the offense, as Charles Beltran told you. And they're absolutely right. Marisela does deserve better. She deserved better than DPD gave her, than Detective Ramirez did in the investigation of this case. I submit to you, it's one of the worst homicide investigations in Dallas County history. We talk about false confessions and how they typically lead to wrongful convictions. This was a terrible investigation. I had to call Detective Ramirez and put her on the witness stand. They don't want to support her. I called her so you could see her, you could hear from her, and understand how she botched, how they botched this investigation up. Because she had blinders on. Once she believed she knew what happened in the case, and how she manipulated Charles Beltran into putting it all on Lisa Dykes. And even Morano. False confessions? Do you think I'm just talking? You think I'm just talking? I'm not just talking. Nina Morano was charged with murder based on statements of Charles Beltran. That was whatever, years ago, when they got charged. Back then, they just dismissed that case. They've been talking to Charles, getting him ready to testify at least 4 or 5 times with the state and his attorney, preparing him to testify. Talking about all the inconsistencies that even after he talked to the detectives the first time, he still had. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to tell you is you cannot believe Charles Beltran. He's a liar. You know that because he gave story after story after story after story. These girls were like, oh, he's such a sugar bear. She's a sugar mommy, he's a sugar bear. He's so gentle. Well, if a gentle person had witnessed the horror that he's alleging Marisela went through, don't you think that would have affected them somehow? Don't you think that would have affected them in some manner? Everybody who came in contact with Charles said he acted wrong. He acted wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what happened to Marisela, other than she got her teeth knocked out. But what I do know from her family, from her friends, they all told me that she smoked weed, but she was not the type of girl that would go on a one-night stand with somebody like Chuck. I submit to you that what the evidence shows is yes, she met him, she wanted weed, but that's all she wanted from Charles. But he wanted more. Remember, he said, if you come to this room, you're gonna have sex. That's what he said. That's what he meant. I submit to you, I believe the evidence shows that he did take her to the apartment, somehow get her over to the house, wanted to have sex with her. She didn't want to have sex with her. Either he hits her in the mouth, I don't know who hits her in the mouth. Somebody knocks her teeth out. And I wanted to make sure I made a big point of that with the dentist. Those teeth, she had her teeth at 7-Eleven. Now her teeth are missing. That is physical evidence. Men lie, women lie. Physical evidence does not lie. The drops of blood that were on that carpet are more consistent with someone having their teeth knocked out and bleeding, and then someone later trying to get it up, than a stabbing. That's why he's backing off the stabbing now. That's why they're backing off that she was stabbed. That Lisa's standing over her and she's stabbing her. Because any crime scene expert, officer knows that when you stab someone, ladies and gentlemen, the knife goes in, the blood comes out. The knife goes in, the blood comes out. The splatter against the wall. Especially, that's why I have to do a demonstration. If you throw someone against a wall that has blood on them, you would anticipate the blood on the wall. There's no blood on the wall. There's no spatter on the floor. There was no tussle, no struggle, the way Charles Beltran lied to you about. The physical evidence does not support that. Men lie, women lie, physical evidence does not lie. If this was a stabbing, where is the blood spatter? Stabbing. That's what they have proven in the unreasonable doubt. Stabbing. Stabbing. That's what he's pausing because see now they know. He's talked to the detectives, he's talked to the state, all these times. They know that wound don't show blood spatter consistent with a violent stabbing. Imagine, ladies and gentlemen, if it didn't happen the way he said, she's in such a rage, she's so angry, she straddles her over the bed. The bed's right there on the wall. Where's the blood? They're struggling, they're both up. She's trying to get away with that. Where's the blood? Where's the blood? You can't get the blood up, ladies and gentlemen. You can make it appear like it's up, but you can't get the blood up. It's still going to show when you do that. The blue star. When Lisa is supposed to be going back to her room or going back wherever in the house to get out of this gown that clearly would have been dripping. I don't want to talk about her injuries. Just the gown. She's supposed to be naked. Marcella's supposed to be naked. Where are the blood droppings? Where are the blood spatter? It's not there because it didn't happen the way Charles told you. It didn't happen that way. There's no evidence other than Charles Beltran that she was even killed at Mesquite. I submit to you, when you look at all the evidence, and they have to prove this. They have to prove this with evidence beyond reasonable doubt. They have to prove when she was killed. Look at the autopsy report. It says March 24th of 2021. You know that's not true. That's when they found the body. They have to prove that. Even as far as when the body got to Wilmer, where it was located, because of all the animals scavenging out there, potentially moving the body before it decomposed. You don't know when the body got there. So they say, okay, their phone's pinged. Let's talk about that. The phone's pinged in the Wilmer area. Well, if you look at the report, I'm not going to put it for you, you'll see all the towers. You got one in Wilmer, you also have one in Hutchins. I submit to you that the ping from their phone is because they went to the FedEx location in Hutchins. If that FedEx location wasn't there, trust me, they tell you, it is there. That is what happened. Coincidence? What? There's no evidence that the body was even out there on October the 5th. Not one shred of evidence. Not one shred of evidence in regards to when the body is out there, other than the fact that they found it on the 24th. And I submit to you, I don't believe the body was out there because you have to remember the FBI agents say they went to the area that they felt like the phones had pinged. They went to the whatever landfill, the area with the cement and stuff. They went out there. You got FBI agents combing that area looking for any evidence regarding Marcella's missing body. Nothing. It's later when the whoever is putting the traps out, and that's how they end up finding the body. But when they initially go out there, again, there's no evidence that body is out there. But they need that because they have to have cooperation. They have to have cooperation. They don't have it. The blood does not corroborate the fact that Marcella was stabbed. I'll submit to you, it's just as consistent that blood came from her teeth being knocked out. The phone pings does not corroborate that this offense took place the way Charles Beltran told you. It's not corroboration, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. So all you really got is an accomplice witness putting it all on Lisa Dykes. And that's important, ladies and gentlemen, because again, I wish you could have heard his interview with Ramirez and Ortiz. You know, all the lie after lie after lie he told about, you know, again, not knowing what happened to Marcella's. I dropped her off. I thought she took an Uber, lie after lie. And it's only after, hey, they're going to say, you're the monster. And let me also touch base on it. Look, I didn't say nothing negative about her dress. It's how the kids dress. What I did say, and what I do want you to know, is they filed this case initially as capital murder because no one believed that Marcella would be with someone like Chuck. He knew that. That's why he said, well, why did you call the police? Because I didn't think anyone would believe somebody like me. What do you mean somebody like me? Somebody with a record like mine. Somebody with a history of violence. Somebody like me. That's why. I didn't want to get in trouble. Because I knew, if they knew what happened, that I was with her, and whoever heard her, I was going to get in trouble. So when the detective started feeding him this jealousy stuff, he ran with it. When the detectives were telling him, the attorneys are going to put it on you. The attorneys are going to put it on you. This is your only time to save yourself. So tell us. And that's when he starts filling in the false allegations about Lisa and about Nina that I submit to you lead to false and wrongful convictions. Yeah, wrongful convictions, because that's exactly what would have happened if a jury heard these allegations that he made about Nina assisting in the stabbing. Nina assisting in the stabbing, and they went back and found her guilty. Because finally, he says it's not true. She didn't insist. She didn't insist. It doesn't have to cooperate that she did anyway. They're both in that room, just like she told you. They're both in that room asleep. You know, and we want to talk to you a little bit about the dog. Just because even though Charles had brought numerous women, numerous guys over to that house, in that room, in that studio, having sex, doing whatever they're doing, smoking dope, making music, doing exactly what you saw on that picture in this video. The reason I want to show you that video is because that's who Chuck Beltran really is. 50-50, half amazing, half crazy. Unfortunately for Marisela, and I agree, she didn't deserve to meet the half crazy Chuck, but that's exactly what I believe the evidence shows. As far as the dog, again, had this happened the way they're alleging it happened, don't you think that dog would have ran that room? Don't you think there have been blood paw prints everywhere? But there weren't, because it didn't happen the way Chuck told you it happened. All this stuff about them running, all this stuff about them evading, they didn't have to talk to the police. They didn't have to talk to the police, ladies and gentlemen. They told you they felt persecuted. You know, they felt like they were being blamed. They couldn't get a fair trial. That's why they left. But they were afraid of Charles and his people. When he said Santa Marcia's always watching, Santa Marcia's always watching, they were afraid not to cooperate with Charles. They don't know she could easily go out there and say Chuck did, but she has no idea what happened to Marcella. She told you that she's never met Marcella, and no physical evidence corroborates that she did. Nothing. Not one shred of evidence. Even the evidence that they got the arrest warrants on. You know, trying to lead judges to believe that they had her DNA. That was a lie. Nina's DNA, Chuck's DNA, with Marcella's DNA. All those are lies. The cement in the alley, lie. The hair sample, lies. Lies. A botched investigation. Marcella does deserve better than what Detective Ramirez did in this case. They deserve to have the right person found guilty. And it is more likely that Charles Beltran had something to do with her demise. And now he's covering it up, trying to blame everything on Lisa Dykes. Ladies and gentlemen, again, when you go through this jury charge, this is the law. You know, don't make the same mistakes that Detective Ramirez made, speculating, trying to force a square peg into a round hole or whatever puzzle talk we want to talk about. The evidence in this case does not corroborate Charles Beltran's this last version that he gave. The evidence doesn't corroborate any version that he gave. Version after version, version to Dex, version to Fred, version to all the girls that he came in contact with, lie after lie after lie. Nothing corroborates it. He's a liar. He can't be trusted. I'm going to ask that you not further support this perjury as all it was. In my opinion, it doesn't matter. What matters is what evidence came from that witness stand. And the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is the evidence does not corroborate Charles Beltran's version of the horrific murder that he's trying to tell you about. It just doesn't. Blood splatter is real. It's real. But it wasn't in that room. So there was no stabbing. There was no stabbing. Charles knows that. You should know that from the physical evidence. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to submit to you that you should find Ms. Dykes not guilty, not just because that's what the law dictates that you do, you know, but because this was a sloppy investigation, ladies and gentlemen. You know, if you remember the phone records that specifically showed that after he leaves Mesquite, remember they get to Mesquite because they're looking at his phone, but after he leaves Mesquite, he goes to Carmen's apartment. Where's Carmen? Why don't they ever talk to Carmen? Why didn't they check her apartment? Oh, well, her phone went off here about 8 o'clock in Mesquite, so we didn't go to. There's a million things he could have done with the phone. They're out all night. The phone could have been dead. A million things that could have happened in regards to why she can't use her accounts, why she can't use her phone. She's with Chuck 50-50, the monster. Why didn't they check that apartment? Was there evidence there at Carmen's apartment? We don't know. Why did Carmen disappear? Why did she disappear? Ladies, again, we're going to ask you to find Ms. Dykes not guilty because that's what we believe the law and the evidence dictates that you do. But more importantly, because she is not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. We have 30 minutes.
Thank you, Ron. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, when you all were in voir dire, we discussed that your verdict had to be based on the evidence that you saw and that was presented to you in this case. You also heard that the defense did not have to bring a case at all, didn't have to bring any witnesses at all, but they also could if they chose to. You've heard that you can make reasonable inferences, again, solely based on the evidence. But what you can't do is what you just heard Mr. Harris do. Mr. Harris spent his entire time speculating, making up things that could have happened, maybe could have happened, based nothing on the 404 exhibits that the state brought you and the 12 exhibits that the defense brought you. Nothing that he said was corroborated by anything, the exhibits or the 32 witnesses that we brought you and the 4 witnesses that he brought you. Nothing. Nothing at all. Ms. Dykes took the stand, and when you assess witness credibility, the first thing you need to do is see, is their testimony making sense? Is it backed up by anybody else's testimony? And in this case, she swore on direct and swore on cross over and over and over again that she had no romantic or sexual relationship with Charles Beltran. Yet in her phone, that she is on talking to someone when she gets arrested in March of 2021, March 26th, his name is Lover. She chose that name for him. Yet she sat up there and lied to you. No, he was just a business investment. If she can't give you the truth about that one thing that everybody knows that here, she's not going to give you the truth about anything at all. Let's read this conversation. She reaches out to Lover, Charles Beltran, and says, "Hey, love, we good?" Takes some time before he responds, and so she says, "Yes, not." She wants to know, has he said anything yet? She knows he's the one that knows what she did to Marisela Botello in that room. He's the one that knows, and she kept him close for months. That was her choice. She is not the victim here. She is not the victim here. Marisela is the victim. We good? Yes, not. Finally, he responds and says, "Yeah." "You?" She says, "Yep, I'm still hanging on. Attorney's seeing the wife today." He says, "Okay." She sat up there and told you she didn't have a choice about Charles Beltran, but yet her next message is, "I really wish we were together." It's hard to watch your own back, and tells him you can't trust anybody either. He says, "I know, love." And then he does what Chuck does and asks for money. He needs to change vehicles. That Jeep that she said was hers, but that he has and drove to Dallas and to New Orleans before he went to Utah, that's in his possession, not hers. He needs a new car. She says, "Yes, as soon as I see the attorney." I had to pay him up front, big gamble, but there doesn't seem to be any issue as long as she signs off. Use your reasonable inference. That right there is evidence. You can use a reasonable inference as to who she's talking about. She's talking about Nina. Nina's arrested and sitting in jail in Miami while she brings to Orlando. She said, "I called the jail myself." What did they say? They got warrants for capital murder on all 3 of us. Now, Lisa Dykes has sworn to you she didn't know what happened to Marisela Botello or where she was or anything else. Look at that message right there. She said she thought she was out and about on a bender, going to prostitution motels and things like that. Supposedly, they found her. She's talking about Marisela because they found her body just 2 days before. She knows the gig is up. She knows the gig is up. And she's got to get the heck out of Orlando. She's not worried about Nina. She's worried about getting her money. It says, but the attorney says they're building a case. They don't have evidence. They are guessing. I'm hoping she kept her shit together. She wants you to think that she cares about Nina, that she thinks Nina's on suicide watch, and so she's hoping she keeps her shit together in that way. No, she hopes that Nina keeps it together and doesn't talk. That's what the evidence shows. I need to get out of the state real quick. She's not trying to turn herself in. She's trying to run again. Ask Chuck, how much money do you need? How much can you send? I need to make moves. She says, I have no idea how much there is until I get her shit, Nina's shit. She wants you to believe that she wasn't using Nina for money. She's trying to get her shit. She's not talking about trying to get Nina out of jail. She's not talking about trying to help Nina, about caring about Nina, about being worried about Nina. She's talking about getting her shit so she can get out of this state. I'm trying to go to our fave spot that I wanted to live for a minute. You think you could get to me there? This woman that testified to you that she was so terrified she felt like she didn't have a choice is asking Chuck, asking this man that she's obsessed with, if he can get there to her. Or do I need to come get you? He says, I thought you got paid today. I did. This guy was $2,000 to get the money off of Nina. Who's she worried about? She's worried about herself. She's worried about Chuck. She's not worried about Nina. She's worried about getting that money. He just called me. What'd he say? Question mark? Mom, she's arrested. The gig is up. Lisa Dykes sat up there and told you that Chuck was just a business investment. She told me that she had lived with family, and Jimmy, her brother, said, yeah, I mean, she was there for us. That's what family does. We get each other's back. We do that. She helped me, and everything was going really well in Mesquite with all of them when all of a sudden, just weeks before, she tells Chelsea and Aaron and Jimmy that they've got to move out. Just weeks before, she met Charles Beltran. She tells Kat De Leon, I can't live the lifestyle I want to live with them here. Not I want them to spread their wings and fly. Not that I want them to take care of themselves. I can't live the lifestyle I want to live with them here. And what you see is the evolution of Lisa Dykes right there from when prior to when she met Charles Beltran all the way through to the bottom. Full tattoos, new haircut, platinum hair, makeup. The last hair appointment she had with Kat, she changes her appearance again, bright pink. She still has the scars from her facelift that Nina paid for. Nose rings. This is the willing evolution of a woman that was obsessed with a young, much younger man that was in the rap scene and in the bar scene, and this is what she thought he wanted her to look like. So that's what she did. That's what she did. But let's talk a little bit about the Lisa Dykes or Lisa Beltran that you met here in court. She was quiet. She was soft-spoken. Her attorney even said, pull that microphone up so we can hear you. Had that little country accent. All of those things. This woman has 37 years of experience in the courtroom. She knows the legal system. She's a negotiator. She's strong. She knows what she's doing. She's successful. She's raised these kids on her own. This is not a soft-spoken, weak woman. This is the woman that when she was confronted in Cambodia in a foreign country by 4 Cambodian officers dressed in SWAT gear and 4 Cambodian officers dressed in uniform, and 1 FBI agent looked that woman straight in the eye and said, what jurisdiction do you have here? That's the Lisa Dykes that killed Marisela Botello, not the one that came here to court today. Because see, she can change who she is for the circumstance. She wants to control the circumstances. When we talk about motive, it's not like she was so jealous of each of these women that he brought home that she wanted to kill them all. It was all about control. She had told Chuck no more. She had told him no more. And yet he continued to not listen to her. And let's talk about the time frame that we are talking about. We're talking about in October when she had just spent all this money on Chuck for a rap concert on October 4th, or October 3rd in Arkansas. The van, the spot, the hotel rooms, the booze. She's walking around in the club. She's getting around just fine. She's done that all for him. All for him. And how does he repay her? Does exactly what she told him not to do. This last slide, ladies and gentlemen, you heard Kat De Leon talk about her hair was always platinum, maybe some streaks of blonde, something bright. This is what she chose to do for her appearance when she was in Florida. Make no mistake about it. She is trying to hide. She is trying to change her appearance, and she's not trying to be found by the FBI, by the Dallas Police Department, by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, by anybody. Now, again, Ms. Dykes, this chart shows the nexus between all the witnesses that were called in this case and the people talked about in this case and how they were related to each other. Ms. Dykes got the benefit of hearing every single person in here talk. And what did she say? Of course, she starts with Charles Beltran's a liar. We'll get to his testimony in just a minute. But Charles Beltran's a liar. Her brother's a liar. Her coworker, Olivia Martinez, is a liar. Kat De Leon, her hairdresser of years, she's a liar. Jamie Scarpa, that she's met one time, that woman's a liar. Chuck's girlfriends are all liars. Brady Chapman, when he says that she's driving, he's a liar. And so is Dak Stevens. The only person you don't see marked with liars, the only person that did show up, and that's Kyle Williams and his girlfriend, Valerie Stevens. They heard the call about why he didn't show up, because she told him not to. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Ms. Dykes talked about her medical records yesterday, proving what I don't know. She had a hard time with this last surgery? Sure. You read through this, what you'll find is that you have a non-compliant patient, a person who wants to be in control, is not listening to the doctors and causing her own problems. But more specifically, when you look at the appointment date on 9/22/2020, that's September 22nd, 2020, it talks about how on that day she's discussing with the individual that is looking at her. The notes indicate that Miss Dykes tells her on that weekend, I have a trip to Los Angeles planned. That weekend is not October 3rd. We're talking about September 22nd, 2020. That weekend is September 26th, 2020. She had a trip to Los Angeles planned with Nina that weekend. But what she told you is that, oh, no, we didn't actually plan on going to Arkansas. That was because we had to cancel our trip for October 3rd that we were going to take to Los Angeles because the doctor told me I had to. You can read through these notes yourself, but that particular appointment, the medical professional tells her, look, you don't need to go this weekend on your trip. And Ms. Dykes was insistent that she was going to go. What you're going to find from those medical records as well is that on October 2nd of 2020, not October 3rd of 2020, as Ms. Dykes said, but October 2nd, she had a follow-up appointment, and the doctor's notes indicate everything seems fine, and they didn't schedule another follow-up appointment until December. If she was in that kind of pain, as she described to you all, don't you think they would be seeing her on a regular basis? At that point, everything is starting to come back together. Everything is starting to be fine, so much so that she can go to Arkansas, drive 4 hours in a car, walk around the club, and party with a bunch of younger men at a rap concert, at a rap show. In October 2020, Lisa wants you to think that all of these are coincidences. That she renewed her lease, which shows that she intended to be there for a full year, although she testified that, hey, we were already planning on going to Florida. Her lease documents show otherwise. She's planning on being in Texas for a while. That on October 5th, she calls in for an unknown reason. That's the day that Marisela is supposed to return. That's the day that she goes missing, and she calls into work, unexplained. Her call records show her down the moment. Coincidence that the very next day, her wife, Nina, is desperately searching passport offices, how to get a passport fast, how to change your name on a passport fast. The very next day. Lisa's hair in her last appointment goes pink, and there's continued passport Google searches. The very first news article that comes out about Marisela is a WFFA news article on October 11th. Nina urgently wants to sell her Pennsylvania home the very next day. Calls Jamie Scarpa and says, I need to list it today. Not in a week, not let's sit down and talk about it today. That's just a coincidence. Lisa gets a phone call from the FBI. She tells all her coworkers, oh, it's fraud, it wasn't a real person. But tells that FBI agent that she could see on the Ring camera was legit and tells him, I haven't seen him in some time. I don't know where he is. I don't know his number. I don't know how to get a hold of him. The very first time she's contacted by law enforcement, she lies. And then the very next day, she quits. Unexplained, just out of the blue, according to her coworker. Is that just a coincidence too? These are all just in October. October 31st, that first search warrant in the Kensington house looked like they had moved quickly. It was abandoned, property left there. But the blood had been cleaned up. The blood had been cleaned up for sure. And that's her house. Make no mistake about it. She knows what goes on in her house. She's in control of what goes on in her house. When we're discussing the phone records that put her in Wilmer, this shows earlier that day that they are all in the same area at that Kensington home. And if you'll recall, Mark Sedgwick talking about the time that the green arc, that timing advanced record, that is a different record that you get from Marisela's phone because it's a different provider. And that's almost real time. And you see right there in the middle, she's at that house. That yellow square indicates the Kensington, 3113 Kensington house. She's there. She's there with Chuck. Then you see the next day, you heard Chuck's testimony. He left out of there and he didn't go back that day. And his phone records support that. He tells you he went to get an oil change, that he hung out at Carmen's apartment in the parking lot, that he never saw her. Then he went down and got an oil change. And then he goes on and hangs out in the Deep Ellum area later that night. And you heard corroborating testimony about all of that. But here's the interesting slide. That red square right there, that is the location where Marisela Botello's remains were found. And if you recall Mark Sedgwick's testimony, that the azimuth is kind of the direct line where you see that V. The azimuth is that kind of direct line, and that indicates the direction in which those cell phones are pinging from. So they're within that little angle right there. And these are all the pings of Lisa's phone during that time period. They start at 6:36. Then you have one at 6:43, 6:50 for Nina's phone, 7:02, 7:07, 7:16, 7:22, 7:38. And each and every one of those, that azimuth is pointing towards the location where Marisela Botello's body was found. She wants you to think she was at a FedEx place in Hutchins. There's Hutchins right there. That's Hutchins. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 other towers. But if they were really in Hutchins, at that FedEx distribution location, those cell phones would have been pinging off of there. But no, they are within that area of where Marisela Botello's body was found. 2 turns, 2 miles from where she used to live. A left on Beltline, a left on Posto. Just off the road where you can park and pull a body just a short distance off the road behind brush. She didn't think anybody was going to find her before the animals had gotten to her, before her body decomposed completely. And so, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what I'm going to ask you to do with that is don't give her the benefit of her tampering with a corpse because she chose to dump that body out there where she knew nobody was going to look and it was decomposed so they couldn't do a full autopsy on her. Don't give her that benefit and speculate that just because of that, there's no way to tell from the autopsy exactly how she died. You know how she died because Chuck told you how she died. And the story makes sense. When it comes to Charles Beltran, we brought you his testimony, but we didn't bring you his testimony uncorroborated. We didn't just throw him up there and say, tell your story and just leave it at that. There are 404 pieces of evidence that back up his story. Not only that, you have 32 witnesses that the state calls to corroborate bits and pieces of the story. There's not one person that can corroborate everything, but each person can corroborate something. And so let's start with that. Let's start with Raul Ortiz said that she left there and left his place at approximately 1 a.m. or so, 12:30, 1 a.m. because he got sick. And she took a lift down to Deep Ellum. That's corroborated by the fact that the surveillance video shows her walking around by herself. And then she meets Chuck. And you see that surveillance video of her and Chuck meeting. And you can tell she wants to go with him. Was it a smart choice? Of course not. Was it a choice that a young 23-year-old that is trusting of human nature and trusting of people would make in that scenario? Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a tragedy that she didn't know who she was going to be having to deal with later. Chuck did what he always did. You heard from Dax, you heard from Freddie. And they're like, man, this guy, 5 minutes, and he is talking to a woman and he's taking her home. And he doesn't have to force himself on anyone. He doesn't. And guess what? If she didn't want to have sex with him, it's fine. He's got plenty of other women that do. But this girl was cool, and they were hanging out, and they were having a good time, just like he always does, just like normal. You heard from Kat De Leon about Chuck and Lisa's relationship, and also you heard that Lisa was livid when she learned that Nina had slept with Chuck without her. Make no mistake about it, Lisa wants to control this relationship between her and Chuck. That is her prize, that is her possession, that is her boy toy. She's the one that pays for everything, she's the one that invests in his rap career, she's the one that brought this man in, and she wants to have control over that. Yes, the 3 of them were together. Yes, the 3 of them had sexual relationships together. Yes, she and Chuck had sexual relationships together. But when Nina did it with him, that was not okay. She was livid. And you know that to be true because 2 people that have never met, that didn't know each other, said that Lisa said the same thing. Olivia Martinez said that when she found out about Chuck and Lisa, she was livid. She said, quotation marks, I'm going to make Nina my bitch. I'm going to make her do anything I say. I take a body to Wilmer after you killed an innocent girl because you want to control the situation. Lisa is the one that got Nina involved in this. As far as what we talked about, what the defense talked about, Chuck's fear is real. He's a young black man, covered in tattoos. That's his choice. 2-time felon, that's his choice. He pled guilty to those offenses. He served his time and he was out. But when he looked at it, when he ran from that situation, as his girlfriend Jasmine said he always would, as he always did, which is in his nature, which Dax Stevens said, that's how Chuck deals with conflict. He doesn't fight, he runs. And Freddie said, that's how Chuck is. He doesn't fight. He's a lover, he's a player, he's not a fighter. He runs. He ran from that situation. The further that he ran from it, the bigger it got. He told you, he testified on that witness stand, look, I look like the bad guy. I look like who they would be looking for, but I'm not him. I didn't murder this girl. And he had no reason, no motive whatsoever to do anything to Marisela Botello. Defense makes a pretty big issue about the fact that her forefront teeth were missing. And you heard Dr. Casper talk about that the way that those teeth were missing, that they were fully out. They were completely gone, as if they were extracted from her mouth, not a punch in the mouth with broken teeth. Those are inconsistent. You get punched in the mouth, your teeth break, and you bleed. They don't just fall out of your head.
Did you want to check this in the statement of evidence in this case?
Overall, the jury will recall the testimony as they heard.
They don't just fall out of your head. You are allowed to use your common sense. You don't have to check that in when you are looking at the evidence and listening to the arguments and weighing things against each other. If anything like that happened to Marisela, her teeth would be broken, not completely missing. You understand that there was a lot of animal activity out there. There's a lot of reasons why those teeth might be missing. Her skull might not have been right where it was laying, where it sat when they found it, but it was definitely in that vicinity. Unfortunately, because it was March when they found her body, they couldn't find everything to give you a full picture. Chuck's story makes sense because the DNA evidence corroborates that. This is Chuck's room. See the two windows right there? You see the blue purplish spot right there where the carpet is. That is where he testified that after Lisa stabbed Marisela, he woke up in his deep sleep. He'd been drinking, he'd been smoking a little bit of weed. He wasn't sure it was real at first. And thank you. And his reaction was to shove her off the bed, and Marisela came tumbling down onto the floor with Lisa. And then he jumped over and he pushed them apart. That stain from the carpet pad piece is exactly where Marisela's blood was found. Her DNA was found. So the physical evidence corroborates what he says. The phone evidence corroborates what he says happened after that. The records of Pennsylvania, Mexico, Miami, all of those things corroborate Chuck Beltran's testimony, and not one thing of any of this here in any of those witnesses back her up. And she won't even know that she has a relationship. Mr. Brown said Marisela deserved better than that. Of course she did. She's beautiful. She's full of life. She has dreams. She has hope. She has aspiration. She has to go to work on October 6th. And they want to speculate that she suddenly, within 24 hours of meeting Charles Beltran, became a tweaker, a prostitute, and a drug addict, and was wandering around in Dallas and places she doesn't even know. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is just not reasonable. Not reasonable at all. You know that she was killed on October 5th, 2020, because that's the only reasonable conclusion that the evidence supports. Marisela Botello deserves the 12 of you, the two alternates, to weigh the facts and evidence in this case and to come to the verdict of guilty. Do you know who deserves that more? Lisa Dykes. Lisa Dykes is guilty of murder and guilty of tampering with a corpse. And when your verdict of guilty is read out loud in the courtroom, you're not telling her anything that she doesn't already know. We're asking for a guilty verdict on both charges in this case on behalf of the Dallas County community, the family of Marisela Botello, and our victim, Marisela Botello Valdez. Thank you.
Okay, so I think this is a verdict.
By the defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, guilty of Ms. Dykes, please stand. The jury verdicts read as follows. We, the jury, unanimously find the defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, guilty of murder as charged in the indictment. For the second case, we, the jury, unanimously find the defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, guilty of tampering with physical evidence as charged in the indictment. Both verdicts are signed by the presiding juror, and the name is also printed. You may be seated. Is this ready to proceed in punishment?
Who approached her?
You may.
Yes, go ahead and stand for me, Ms. Dykes. Jury having found you guilty, you understand that I anticipate that the stage is about to rest, which means that we have an opportunity to call more witnesses during this phase of trial. And it'll be your opportunity to also testify if you chose to. Do you want to testify during this portion of the trial?
No, sir.
Okay, and you understand you have absolute right to testify, absolute right not to testify. And no one, myself, included, can force you to testify. Can't keep you from testifying. You made the decision whether or not you're going to testify. Okay, and that is you're not going to testify.
Yes, sir. All right. I have no question. Calling any witnesses.
No, Judge, I anticipate we're going to rest.
I am working on the charges right now.
Okay. It specifically said she was in a daze and she acted in a rage. That's what.
Okay, I haven't got time to watch that. The judge does, I believe. I believe he's the judge. But I'm not 100% though. I just have to move on. She just said that she's working on the charges. Right, I'm going to end this stream because they're back on the other one. So that's why, sorry, I have to cut that short. I don't believe it is the jury, but I could be wrong there. I don't actually know. I presume it's the judge though, because he's addressing the judge there just now. So with that, free Zachary Anderson and all that, please make sure that you like this video if you haven't done so, and then you should be transported straight over to the other trial. So with that, I'll see you over there. End stream. Free Zachary Anderson.